So this question is a true or false question, and I have to figure out whether the limit as x approaches 4 of negative 3x squared plus 48 over the square root of 3x plus 4 minus 4 is equal to negative 64 over 3. So the first thing that I would do is I would check and see whether I can let x approach 4. And then if you notice, if I let x approach 4, the denominator would be 3 times 4 plus 4 minus 4, which would give you the square root of 16. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, minus 4, which would give you 0. So I can't let x approach 4 because the denominator would be 0. So that means that there has to be a way to use algebra so that the denominator isn't 0 anymore. And I know that I can do that by multiplying the top and the bottom, because I see the square root sign, by the conjugate radical. So the conjugate radical is going to have the same, exactly the same first term and exactly the same last term, but the signs in the middle are what's going to be different. So there's a minus in the middle of this one and a plus in the middle of that one. And then whatever I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. And then also I realize on this step, I know that often factoring is involved, and I saw right away I could take a common factor of negative 3 out. So I common factored negative 3 out of negative 3x squared plus 48. So negative 3x squared divided by negative 3 gives me x squared, and 48 divided by negative 3 is negative 16. Okay, so on my next step down, I've got that equals and then limit as x approaches 4. And I noticed that x squared minus 16 was a difference of squares. Okay, so I can keep the negative 3 out front and then factor the difference of squares to give me x minus 4 times x plus 4. And then that's still multiplying by the square root of 3x plus 4 plus 4. And then the bottom, these actually multiply, and I'm going to show you on a separate piece of paper. So if I multiply the square root of 3x plus 4 minus 4 by the square root of 3x plus 4 plus 4, you can use FOIL. So if you multiply the first two together, you're multiplying like a square root by itself. And then if you multiply the outside ones together, you get plus 4 square root of 3x plus 4. And then if you multiply the inside ones together, you get negative 4 times the square root of 3x plus 4. And then if you multiply the two last ones together, negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. And if you square a square root, then the square root goes away. These are like terms that add up to 0. So they add together and get 0, so you don't need to write them down. And then you have minus 16. So if we go back to our solution, that's how I got 3x plus 4 minus 16 in the bottom. Okay, and then on my next step, I left the numerator the same, and I just gathered the like terms, positive 4 and negative 16, to get 3x minus 12. And then I realized that I have a common factor of 3 in the denominator, so I factored out the 3 and got 3 times x minus 4, which means now I can divide out these x minus 4s. Okay, and so now since the denominator is just 3, I can let x approach 4 because the denominator is going to be 3. So now, because I'm taking the limit as x approaches 4, I don't write that anymore. And what I'm doing is I'm allowing each x to approach 4, so I'm replacing each x with 4. And so I subbed 4 in everywhere there was an x. And then just simplified. Here you get the square root of 12 plus 4 is 16. And then I just multiplied the -3 by 8 to get -24. And then square root of 16 is 4, so I got 4 plus 4 there. -24 over 8, no, sorry, times 8 over 3, and then -192 over 3 turns out to be -64. So that's my answer for this one.